A group of goblins, totally unbothered, just drinking water. Our guy spots them. And here's where things get interesting. These goblins have no idea they're being watched. That moment of peace? It won't last long. Bare fists and brute force aren't even on his radar. He's got something far more creative in mind. Inventory open. Skill activated. Whatever he's pulling out, it definitely isn't a sword. A summoning capsule. Think Pokemon Ball, but make it Goblin Slave, lands in his hand. The plan is bold. The execution, that's another story. He winds up and launches it straight at the group. Short. It lands short. The throw doesn't even come close. It hits the dirt well before reaching any target. Our guy just stares at it. So does everyone else. That was absolutely not supposed to happen. And the goblins? Yeah, they noticed. Every single one of them. Honestly, he looks just as thrown off as they are. Mutual confusion. Great start. Eyes lock onto him. The goblins don't waste a second processing what just happened. They come at him fast. No hesitation. No mercy. Kill on sight. With 0 options left, his fists are the only thing standing between him and a very bad time. But the gap in power becomes obvious almost immediately. This isn't going his way. The goblins are winning. And they know it. Bend delay or not, the summoning finally kicks in. The goblin slave bursts onto the scene at the absolute last second. Cutting it close doesn't even begin to cover it. The wild goblins never stood a chance once that summon arrived. Every single one gets taken down, no hesitation. What's left behind is a scene that speaks for itself. Nothing clean about it. Victory secured, and the goblin slave walks away from the fight measurably stronger. Stats across the board, all of them climb. But this one's summon is just the opening move. The foundation, nothing more. There are far more summons waiting to be unlocked. Except unlocking them comes at a cost. More monsters have to die. A lot more. Though honestly, fighting monsters with your own monsters, that's not a burden. That's a calling. Thing is, not long before this moment, nobody believed this guy had any future at all. Complete failure. No rank worth mentioning. 0 shot at ever becoming a hunter. That was the consensus. But once upon a time, there was a day filled with pride and ceremony, and he was right there in the middle of it, chest up, ready for his moment. Hunter Association Stadium. The stage was set. He walks up, accepts his E-rank hunter license, and officially crosses the finish line into graduation. Years of grinding, and it finally meant something. Every bit of that ambition, every late night, every sacrifice. It all pointed to this moment. Here's the context though. E-ranks. The absolute basement of the Awakener hierarchy. Born into this world already behind, he had to study twice as hard just to keep pace with people who had natural advantages he'd never get. But that grind paid off in one unexpected way. His theoretical knowledge of dungeons and monsters? Absolutely unmatched. He outstudied people with far better gifts. That's not nothing. Standing on that stage, the weight of all those years lifts for just a moment. Real hunter. Finally, then one cold, indifferent attendant steps up to hand him his certificate and dismantles the entire thing, tears it in half. Right in front of him. His reasoning is brutally simple. E-rank is worthless. The title exists, sure, but it carries no real weight in the actual hunter world. Every dungeon strategy memorized, every monster weakness cataloged, every tactic mastered, none of it means anything without the rank to back it up. 7 years of effort, reduced to a punchline. That breaks him. Hannul walks away from hunting entirely, retreats into gaming to fill the void. But even 7 years later, that wound never fully closes. No career, no direction. Just the quiet, grinding uncertainty of a life without a clear path forward. Gaming becomes the only thing resembling a plan. The game? Monsters block monsters, MBM for short. The entire concept is right there in the name. You fight monsters by throwing other monsters at them. Hundreds of species to recruit, each with their own potential to develop. The goal is simple. Hold your ground against endless hostile waves. Tower defense. Brutal addition. Simple on the surface. Absolutely not simple in practice. Anyone who survived something like Bloons TD5 knows the feeling. This game demands precision placement and optimization that borders on rocket science. Upgrades exist, but the grind for them is punishing. Even units you've spent real time developing can be ripped away from you in an instant. Permadeath. If a monster dies in battle, those stats are gone forever. No recovery. No second chance. That's just how this game works. Those mechanics have earned MBM a legendary reputation as a historically terrible game. The hate is real, and the community is loud about it. And yet, a flawless strategy can let a 1-star goblin take down a 3-star ogre. The skill ceiling here is genuinely insane. One man's trash game is another man's livelihood. Hannul streams it, dominates it, and actually earns decent money, because his mind was built for exactly this kind of thinking. Inside the Monsters Block community, he's earned his title, Hardcore Veteran, no debate. This game has been his anchor since the Hunter path collapsed. But today is the last day to play it. The developers are pulling the plug and shutting the servers down permanently. His viewers are already assuming he'll pivot to hunting full-time. After all, he has a license. What's the big deal, right? The big deal is that he isn't actually a working hunter. That truth cuts harder than he lets on. He keeps it to himself. No public breakdown, no dramatic confession. Whatever anxiety is sitting in his chest right now gets pushed down. Today's the last day on the server. Might as well play it out completely. A special in-game event is running, simply called the Wave. The rules keep your castle standing against endless monster hordes pouring through a portal. The wave Hannul's targeting right now is number 700, dubbed Uncharted Territory, because nobody in the game's entire history has ever made it this far. Not once. Not a single player has cleared this milestone. That combination of excitement and dread, he's feeling every bit of it right now. He loads in, and immediately, monsters everywhere, pouring out of the primordial gate in one massive suffocating swarm. The horde moves fast, and it's dense. His level 100 archer goes in first, trying to thin the numbers before they get close. One archer, against that, not even remotely enough firepower. The archer gets torn apart, gone, just like that. But Hannul doesn't fold. Not yet. Level 130, Succubus Queen steps up next. His real heavy hitter. She doesn't survive either. A massive 3-headed hound makes a meal out of her in seconds. One by one, his units get thrown in. One by one, they fall. His high-ranking roster, the units he spent countless hours building, gone. Defense stripped bare. Nothing left between his castle and total annihilation. And then, right when it looks completely over, the game does something nobody expected. Reaching wave 700 for the very first time has triggered a hidden condition buried deep in the game's code. A character named Sovereign is awakening, and just like that, she steps onto the battlefield. Blue hair, sword knight, gender unknown, absolutely majestic. Hannul just stares at the screen. He has no words. Sovereigns are NPCs. Background characters. They don't move, they don't fight. That's always been the rule. The monster horde is still charging, still coming. The Sovereign stands directly above the castle gate. Calm, unbothered. Like the horde isn't even a threat worth acknowledging. Sword drawn, she swings, and a trail of divine light tears through the monster ranks with lethal, effortless grace, like the entire horde just walked into the world's most violent game of Fruit Ninja. Hannul, a guy who has played this game thousands of times and thought he'd seen everything, is completely, genuinely floored. Another wave comes crashing forward. She launches into the air and detonates another flash of arcane light straight into the center of it. The enemy ranks don't just take damage, they get devastated. She keeps going. Wave after wave, she doesn't slow down. And eventually, she stops. What's left on the battlefield is nothing but mountains of corpses stretching as far as the screen can render. Wave 700 cleared. Complete. And Hannul is sitting there with his jaw on the floor. His entire streaming career, he wrote Sovereigns off as decorative background characters. Fancy window dressing. Nothing more. But this Sovereign just single-handedly wiped an unkillable wave. She's a cheat code, wearing a pretty face. And there's nobody left in the chat to witness it with him. One viewer. That's all that remains. That one viewer, though, has plenty to say. They're pouring out gratitude, thanking Hannul for his effort, specifically for conquering the world, whatever that means. Apparently, thanks to what just happened, their lord has awakened, and now, according to this stranger, harmony is finally within reach. Hannul reads that message 3 times. He still has absolutely no idea what this person is talking about, and then his room changes. An arcane portal tears itself open out of nowhere, right there in his bedroom. A holographic system window blinks into existence in front of him. It's announcing a new skill. He has awakened something. That word, reawakening, unlocks a memory he hadn't thought about in years. Old teachers. Old classrooms. Lessons he memorized and then tried to forget. They used to say E-rankers, as a rule, don't survive dungeons. The math just doesn't work in their favor. But every now and then, incredibly rarely, an E-ranker awakens an additional skill later in life. So rare it has its own name, reawakening. He's looking at that notification and it's real. This is actually happening to him. 7 years of dead ends, and now this. He's not letting this moment pass. For the first time since that certificate got torn in half, Hannul is genuinely fired up about hunting again. Except, something's off. He pulls up his main status window, expecting to see changes everywhere. Nothing. Not a single stat has shifted. That doesn't add up, and he knows it. Then a second notification surfaces, a separate pop-up, pulling up the details of his new skill specifically. There it is. That's the one that matters. 2 options sitting in front of him. Deal with a Sovereign, or converse with a Sovereign. He has no idea what either actually does. 0 context, 0 explanation. So he just picks one. Deal with a Sovereign. Select it. But before anything activates, a flashing red alert cuts him off. Missing required condition. Transaction blocked. Hannul stares at the screen, completely done. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Classic. His attention snaps back to that one remaining viewer, the one who was typing all that cryptic nonsense earlier. He relaunches the stream, and immediately that viewer is right back online. For the sake of sanity, let's just call them Viewer 1. Stream lockdown, one-on-one. No audience, no distractions. Hannul goes straight into interrogation mode. No warm-up, no small talk. This user appeared at the exact moment his reawakening triggered. That's not a coincidence. No dancing around it. He asks directly, do you know what just happened to me? Viewer 1 confirms it immediately. Yes, they know. Hannul always understood that awakening was something beyond human control. Random, unchosen, unchained from any logic. So the question eating at him now is obvious. Is this entity on the other side of the screen actually responsible for what just happened to him? He follows up, why? Why him? Why now? What possible reason would an unknown being have for pulling a washed-up gamer back into the game? The answer viewer 1 gives is simple. Hannul is the one who awakened their lord. Everything that just happened is a direct response to that. He caused this chain of events. Even if he had no idea he was doing it, the confusion clouding his mind right now, viewer 1 says it'll clear naturally. The skills he's been granted, consider them a thank you gift. From the Lord personally, Hannul shells the questions. Time to figure out how to actually use what he's been given. Conversation with the Sovereign has a cooldown, locked for now. Fine, he can wait, but deal with the Sovereign being blocked behind some kind of currency requirement? That's a problem he needs solved immediately. Viewer 1 pauses, almost like they just realized they forgot something important. Then they move fast to fix it. 50 gold, deposited directly into Hannul's system wallet. Just like that, funded. He can finally start testing these skills and put the pieces together on his own terms. With that handled, viewer 1 logs off. Gone. Hannul sits alone in the silence of his room, genuinely unsure if any of this is real. He even pinches himself just to check. But one thing cuts through all the confusion with total clarity. This reawakening wasn't random. The entity called the Lord is behind it. And that changes everything. A system ping breaks the quiet. 50 gold confirmed. Wallet updated. Deal with the Sovereign is now unlocked. He activates it, and a full digital storefront materializes in front of him, loaded with monsters available for purchase. It's enormous. 50 gold doesn't go far here. The only thing within reach right now is a single slave goblin. The Sovereign herself sits at the top of the roster with an 11-digit price tag. 11 digits. He stares at it longer than he should, already knowing the answer. Way out of reach. But honestly, what stops him isn't even the cost. It's something else entirely. This storefront, this interface, it looks exactly like Monsters Block Monsters. The spinning holographic monster previews, the price tags, the layout, nearly identical to the game he's been playing for 7 years. Small differences here and there, but the DNA is unmistakable. And if the game let him summon units he owned, then the real-world version should work the same way. That's his working theory, and he's going with it, which immediately raises the next question. How does he get more gold? Back in MBM, there were exactly 2 income streams. Clear dungeons, or hunt monsters and sell the loot. Apply that logic to reality, and the answer is obvious. He needs to go out and kill monsters. Farming starts now. The problem staring him in the face is that his physical stats are genuinely terrible. Not needs improvement, terrible. Dangerously, embarrassingly low, not even enough to handle a lowest grade slime safely. With no better move available, he locks in the slave goblin purchase and confirms the transaction. A blue summoning castle materializes in his hand, his goblin, contained and ready, real, tangible. This is actually happening. Scene shift, the Hunter Association building, loud and busy as always. Hannul is here to register officially as a solo E-rank hunter. First time doing this for real. The receptionist pulls up his record and scans through it. 4 available jobs come up, all matched to his rank. He reads through them carefully and picks the one that looks like the worst possible fit for someone with his current physical capabilities, goblin extermination, in a remote village tucked behind the mountains. Isolated. Far from everything. The attendant doesn't hold back. No emergency support available out there. If things go wrong, he's completely on his own. That's exactly what he wanted to hear. The last thing Hannul needs is an audience watching him stumble through his first real hunt. She looks at him, young, underprepared, and there's a flicker of something in her expression. Concern, maybe. Pity. She updates his status anyway. Biometric verification complete. Registration finalized. Mission details incoming via text. Hannul walks out of that building practically vibrating. His real debut is finally here. And then after a long journey out past the edge of anything resembling civilization, he arrives at the village. Before he even finishes taking in the surroundings, the client comes rushing out to greet him. The old man is practically overwhelmed, genuinely grateful that any hunter at all showed up for this. Out here this far from civilization, for this kind of payout, most awakeners wouldn't even check the listing twice. Still, the elder's eyes travel up and down Hannul's frame and settle somewhere between doubt and worry. This scrawny kid is supposed to handle this alone? The concern on the old man's face is completely real and honestly kind of touching. Hannul meets that worry with a calm smile. Clean, competent, no hesitation. Those creatures won't be touching this village again. He means it. He heads into the forest, tracking toward where the goblin nest is supposed to be located. Then he stops, because what he's looking at doesn't match anything he expected. This isn't what a goblin encounter is supposed to look like. No feral snarling, no chaos. Just a group of goblins, completely relaxed, hanging out by a stream, drinking water. Calmly. Like people on a lunch break. Weird. But Hannul files that away for later and opens his inventory. His new familiar sits there in blue blob form. Compact, contained, waiting. He grips it. Channels every Pokemon trainer instinct he never knew he had, and throws it. The sphere cuts through the air toward the creatures, and lands directly in front of them. Right at their feet. For a full beat, nothing happens. No explosion. No flash. Nothing. Hannul immediately understands he is in a very bad situation. The capsule didn't deploy. His summon is just sitting there on the ground like a dud. And the goblins have already clocked him as the threat. Claws out. Closing fast. Their intent is extremely clear. No backup. No escape route worth taking. Hannul plants his feet and raises his fists. If this is how it goes, he's going down swinging. Running isn't an option he's even considering. He loads up a counterpunch and braces for impact. One of them lunges. Claws cutting through the air, aimed directly at him. And then the summon detonates. The goblin slave explodes into existence mid-air, materializes out of nothing, and absolutely caves the attacker in with a massive club. Explosive entry doesn't even cover it. Hannul stares. Something clicks. When he first launched his MBM stream years ago, the very first unit he ever pulled was a standard slave goblin, lowest tier, no stats to speak of. Over time, he had poured everything into that unit. God-tier equipment, max progression, a completely unassuming creature that slowly became something terrifying. He'd named that goblin Gono. And Gono had solo cleared 100 consecutive waves without a single assist. Now looking at his familiar's equipment list, it's all there. The exact A-ranks gear he'd spent years grinding for, every piece accounted for. This is Gono. Brought into the real world. No other explanation fits, and Gono is absolutely. There is no polite way to describe what happens next. 2 frontline goblins get dismantled, limb from limb. It's over before they register what hit them. The third goblin, using every last brain cell available to it, turns and runs. Bad decision. Gono's Raven. Wingbeat shoes activate. He moves like a bolt of lightning, given a body. Crosses the entire clearing in a blink, and in the third goblin. Doesn't even get a sound out before it's over. Hannul is standing completely still, jaw locked open. He theoretically knew how strong Gono was, but seeing those stats translate into reality is something else entirely. Threat eliminated. 3 for 3. Gono turns around and walks back, soaked in evidence of what just happened, and then, unprompted, makes the most disarmingly soft face Hannul has ever seen on anything. Tilted head. Big eyes. Waiting for a head pat. Absolutely serious about it. Hannul has no response prepared for this. He built Gono into a war machine and somehow ended up with something that wants affection after a fight. The system chimes. Affection level 20 out of 100. Noted. Hitting maximum affection will unlock a new skill. That's important information. Hannul, who moments ago wasn't even sure he wanted to make physical contact with his summon, processes this for approximately 1 second, then drops to his knees and hugs Gono like they've been separated for years. Full commitment. No hesitation. Back to business. Hannul scans the area and immediately spots a problem. 3 goblin corpses, 0 loot. How exactly is he supposed to accumulate gold out here? Gono, apparently, has already figured it out. The familiar moves between the bodies methodically, pressing his hands into each chest and pulling out their life essence, which manifests as faintly glowing mana stones. A collection chest materializes nearby. Gono drops them in without ceremony. 3 stones deposited. 30 gold hits Hannul's system wallet instantly, transferred directly from the Lord's Castle of Illusion. The logic snaps into place. No physical coin drops. Extract the mana stones, exchange through the system. That's the loop. Gono gets more affection for cracking the mechanic before Hannul even had to think about it. Gold secured. Now he just needs physical proof for the association to close out the quest. Except 3 goblins weren't the whole story. The forest explodes with noise. Violent, deep, directional. Something big is moving through the trees toward them. With every second, the impacts get heavier. The ground is actually shaking. Trees aren't bending. They're being shredded. Folded. Tossed aside. Ogre. Hannul sees it and immediately begins questioning every decision that led him here. An ogre this size belongs in a B-ranks gate minimum. There is no logical reason for it to exist inside an E-ranks quest zone. None. Then he notices the details. Labored breathing. Fresh wounds. Deep gashes covering its body. This thing has already been through a brutal fight before it even got here, injured or not. This is a boss-level threat. That doesn't change. Then the system flashes red. Gono has 3 minutes left before his summon duration expires. The familiar doesn't wait to be told. Gono steps forward on his own, an opponent 4 times his size, and his posture doesn't change one bit. He glances back at Hannul, one quick look, not asking for orders, asking for trust. Raven's wingbeat shoes engage. Gono accelerates into a full sprint, straight at the ogre, no angle, no misdirection. Direct. Fearless. Straight line to the biggest thing in the clearing. The ogre roars, a sound that rattles the air. An swings a full uprooted tree trunk like a bat. Coming down hard, aimed to swat Gono out of existence. But Gono is already airborne. He reads the swing and launches straight up into it, hitting his peak mid-air, body angled perfectly. and he uses the momentum to push himself even faster, accelerating past his own limit. He comes down, like a meteor with a grudge. No hesitation, no mercy. The club is locked on the ogre's skull, aimed with surgical precision. The ogre throws both arms up in a last-ditch attempt to protect itself. Gono doesn't care. The pressure just keeps building, relentless and overwhelming. Something gives, a sickening crack, as arm bones fold under the force. Then the ribs. Same story, and Gono pushes harder. The shockwave that follows rips through the forest like a thunderclap. Trees shaking, air displaced. Hannul gets pushed backward just trying to stay on his feet, and the ogre, this massive, wounded, boss-level threat, gets completely folded under the kinetic force. Hannul stands there processing what he just witnessed. His brain is running about 3 seconds behind. Gono celebrates immediately. No waiting, no composure. Full happy dance. Absolutely unashamed about it. 3 seconds left on the clock before the summon expires. Gono snaps into focus and drives his hand into the ogre's chest, pulling out the mana stone fast. Holds it out to Hannul like a gift, then dissolves. Blue orb, contained, back to rest. Hannul is left standing there holding a chunky, high-quality core that radiates energy even at a glance. The arcane portal opens right on cue. He drops the intermediate mana stone in. 100 gold. Direct deposit. Instant. Combined with what he already had, his total sits at a comfortable 130 gold. But the system isn't done yet. First official monster kill, logged and recognized. A premium gacha ticket materializes as his reward. Every veteran knows these things have notoriously terrible drop rates. The odds are almost never worth the hype. He activates it anyway. An ornate chest appears, practically humming with whatever's inside, and opens. Here's the part nobody expected. The system reveals the gear pulled from gacha isn't just for summons. Hannul can equip it himself. His own stats, currently sitting at rock bottom, can actually be boosted. He barely has time to process that before. Branches snap. Something's moving through the tree line. Fast and organized, a fully armed group of awakeners breaks into the clearing, weapons ready, clearly following a trail. The trail leads them exactly where they were headed, straight to the ogre, which is already very much dead. Hannul gets one clear look at the person leading the group and his stomach drops. Yunsua, Team 2 leader, Pungbok Guild. This is not who we wanted to run into right now. The pieces fall into place fast. Her team had been grinding that ogre down before it escaped. They did the hard work. He got the kill. That's not a conversation anyone wants to have with a high-ranking guild. He starts moving quietly toward the exit. Sua tells him to stop. She means it. Her squad fans out and boxes him in before he takes another step. She introduces herself, then explains, clearly and without warmth, that the abnormal ogre was their designated target. She is not happy. She's keeping it professional, but she is not happy. The tension sitting in this clearing right now is almost physical. Sua looks at the fallen ogre, then back at Hannul, trying to work out how exactly this happened. Even with the ogre already weakened and bleeding, 3 B-rank hunters had been throwing everything they had at it and couldn't close it out. So if this guy finished it alone, wounded ogre or not, he can't possibly be anything lower than A ranks. That's her math. She adjusts accordingly, extends her hand, introduces herself properly. Sua Pungbok Guild. Hannul stays calm and meets her introduction with his own. No panic, no stumbling. What she doesn't say out loud. Something about this guy is catching more than just her professional attention. That realization irritates her slightly. She can't quite identify what it is. There's nothing obviously remarkable about him, and yet, she asks directly, did he hunt the ogre alone? He confirms it, simply, without elaborating. That big answer doesn't satisfy her. It makes things worse. What is this guy not saying? She pivots, acknowledges that her team had been the ones originally fighting the ogre, and tells him she's glad he stopped it before it caused damage. Hannul shrugs it off with a casual, got lucky. Sua does not believe that for 1 second. You don't solo a boss-level ogre on luck. Her suspicion just went from mild to fully active, so she makes a decision. The full payout for the ogre kill goes to him. Every bit of it. The Pungbok Guild will personally contact Hunter Hannul and handle the transfer directly. Hannul blinks. He wasn't expecting generosity. Not from a guild whose kill he technically took. This is a bigger gesture than it looks. And then she has one more thing to ask. He knew there had to be a catch somewhere. What he didn't expect was for her to just casually extend her phone toward him. For someone who commands a guild team with complete authority, Sua looks oddly flustered right now, like a girl working up the nerve to ask for a number she definitely wants. And Hannul, dense as ever, doesn't read the room even slightly. Scene cuts. Village. The elder is waiting. The old man is practically overflowing with relief and gratitude. The hunter actually came through. Hannul is just glad the path up the mountain is clear for them. He listens to what these villagers have been dealing with, and the weight of it is real. The chief wants to repay him somehow. The timing works perfectly because Hannul has exactly one question on his mind. The training monument, the landmark he's heard about. Where is it? The elder points him down a path and tells him it's at the end. Promises the road brings good fortune to those who walk it. Hannul doesn't put stock in superstitions, but his mood is good enough that he doesn't push back on it. This is also where he decides to open the gacha chest. And before he does, he walks the luck path first. Might as well stack every possible advantage before cracking open a chest with famously terrible drop rates. His phone buzzes. Sua again, reaching out to arrange the reward payment for the kill. He notices she's being unusually attentive about this whole thing. Even more telling, she's using her personal number, not the guild's official line. Hannul notes it, files it away, and immediately redirects his full attention to the chest. She can wait. This is a chest he never imagined he'd be holding in the real world. The rates are garbage. He knows this. But garbage rates still mean a chance, and all he's asking for is an A-rank pull. That's it. Just one. He activates it. Light pours out, shimmering, expanding, and weapons begin materializing, ranked across the spread. Then the highest tier item reveals itself. S rank. Deep blood red, laced with gold. The room goes quiet. The shimmer intensifies, gold bleeding into red, consuming everything else. Hannul stares at it. The kind of stare that comes with realizing something just changed. The scene cuts before the full reveal lands. Later, at home, Hannul sits with everything spread out in front of him, mentally mapping the situation. The gold pipeline is figured out. That problem is solved. The new problem is his monster roster. Something about the system isn't clicking the way he expected, and he's trying to pinpoint why. The shop currently shows a goblin fighter as a recruit option, but sitting right next to it, an ogre berserker. Available, somehow. A goblin fighter runs 70 gold. That tracks. But the ogre berserker is 420 gold, which is miles out of his current range, and yet it's unlocked and listed. That doesn't make sense. Then it clicks. The system isn't gating by gold alone, it's gating by what he's personally killed. That's the actual unlock condition. Goblins and ogres are the only classes showing up because those are the only monsters he's hunted so far. The gold is separate. The eligibility is earned by the kill. That means his path forward is straightforward. Hunt more monster types, expand the roster, build the army. With what he pulled from that gacha chest earlier, that requirement suddenly feels a lot less impossible. About that armor, he didn't get it. What actually came out of that chest was a pair of unique grade glasses, stats buffed, new skill included. Even he didn't see that coming. A unique grade pull, out of a chest with famously terrible odds, one of a kind, top tier. Not a single duplicate exists in the entire system. For context, a unique grade item outperforms 3 or more A-ranks items stacked together. So yeah, that gacha pull just changed his entire trajectory. He puts the glasses on to see what they actually do, first time wearing them, and suddenly, information. Lots of it, like the universe decided he was ready to know things. Every stat gets a flat 5-point boost across the board, and a new skill activates, Sage's Eye. 2 uses per day. It reads a target's details, stats, skills, the works, essentially a built-in scanner. An appraisal tool with legs. Hannul is impressed, genuinely. He calls the effect insane, and for once, he's not exaggerating. He's already thinking about field applications, use it on an enemy, get full intel before the fight even starts. If he knows exactly what he's walking into before the first hit lands, hunting becomes straightforward. He takes the glasses off for now, but something's still nagging at him. Why is the system suddenly handing him all of this? He didn't earn it through grinding. It just showed up. The question of why he specifically got chosen keeps circling back without an answer. Then the system throws something directly in his face. A warning. Urgent, impossible to ignore, incoming wave. Prepare defenses. That's the message. Short, blunt, non-negotiable. And then the notifications just don't stop. Ping after ping after ping. The system is going absolutely haywire. Hannul watches his screen with growing dread as the details come in. Wave 701, newly added, first occurrence, begins in 10 minutes. He stares at that countdown and has absolutely no idea where to even start. Every scenario his brain runs through ends the same way. A wall of monsters, pouring in, overwhelming everything before he can react. A level 1 character, standing in front of the final boss. That's the situation right now. He wants to decline. The system flags the consequence of failure immediately, like it anticipated the thought. Failure means the Castle of Illusions gets destroyed, and if the castle falls, every single ability he has collapses with it. All of it. Gone. Then the full vision hits. Cities burning. Complete destruction. A world coming apart at the seams. This isn't a game over screen. Failure here means the end of everything around him. 10 minutes on the clock, and Hannul still doesn't know how he's supposed to stop any of this. The blue gate spirals open in front of him, identical to the one from the game, down to the last detail, which raises the obvious question. Why is he being forced into this at all? And the stakes attached to his failure, catastrophic, world-ending, no takebacks, are a genuinely insane condition to attach to someone who just started. The system doesn't care. The wave is happening in 10 minutes regardless. Overthinking is a luxury he no longer has. He locks in. Stop the monsters. That's the only objective that matters. At its core, this is still a defense game. Keep the monsters away from the castle. Same as always. Except the difficulty here is Hollow Knight levels of unforgiving. Strategy isn't the bonus, it's the entire foundation. Without it, the numbers don't work. Summon placement, defensive structures, Item synergies. Every variable has to be aligned correctly, every factor calculated, every position optimized. That's what this game demands, and that's what he spent 7 years mastering. The controls respond to him like a touchscreen, intuitive, immediate. First move, check the monster inventory, see what's actually available for deployments. 5 monsters total. 4 goblins, 1 ogre. And here's the twist. This mode lets him deploy them freely without spending gold to hire them first. He checks with a sovereign. Not accessible. Not even close to available. He tries to spend gold to bring in additional troops. System blocks it. No changes permitted after the wave notification triggers. Whatever he has is what he's working with. Hannul is starting to wonder if this system is actively rooting against him. Then the enemy roster loads. Leading the invasion, Count Goulart, flanked by his elite force, Dragon Children, 6 whole stars, backed by an army of 61 dragons, 6 stars. That number just sits there looking terrible. Star rank isn't decorative. It directly measures combat power and ceiling potential for every unit on the field. The gap between star levels isn't gradual. It's a cliff. Too much difference and the lower unit simply ceases to exist. Hannul's entire squad is 1 star. He's being asked to fight a 6 star with that. The math is humiliating. A single dragon should be enough to end this before it starts. No gold, no reinforcements, no obvious path through this. Then the system extends 1 small mercy. 1 defensive structure, 1 item, distributed across all his forces. Hannul looks at that offer and feels genuinely insulted. The system built this wave, watched him assemble a 1-star squad, and decided their 1 item would balance things out. He's put thousands of hours into this exact game. He knows exactly how absurd this ask is, but he also knows that experience is the only edge he actually has right now. He moves fast as the timer allows. Every variable accounted for, every placement calculated. The clock hits 15 seconds before he finally locks it in. Preparation complete. Hannul is as ready as he's ever going to be. The wave opens with wyverns. Hundreds of them, blotting out the sky in every direction. Their target is the castle. They don't deviate, they don't hesitate. Count Goulart rides at the head of the formation, commanding the push from the front. The wyverns hit the barrier first, slamming into it repeatedly. Testing for weaknesses, trying to crack something open. The Count watches his monsters struggle against the structure and his patience visibly thins. More wyverns pile on, coordinating to break through by sheer concentrated force. And yet the barrier holds. That's not luck. That's Hannul's strategy already working. Step 1 was the infinite barrier perk. Defense locked at 100 against incoming damage. The barrier is effectively invincible under normal conditions. But it comes with a condition attached. It only holds as long as the attacking monsters are below 2-star rank. Every attack above that threshold chips it, so despite everything Hannul put in, 1 wyvern cuts loose with its breath attack. The barrier takes the hit, durability drops, but here's the built-in failsafe. The shield regenerates automatically. That regeneration is the only thing keeping the structure functional. The real problem is volume. 1 dragon hitting the barrier costs 1 durability point, but 61 dragons attacking simultaneously would cut it below half in a single moment. The math is right there. Hannul already accounted for that. He has a solution. Spam clicking. He's taking direct inspiration from Osu players. Pure finger speed applied to barrier management. Every click adds 1 durability point back. His hands are the only ceiling on the regeneration rate. His hand is already starting to hurt. But right now, his fingers are the only thing standing between the barrier and collapse. That handles defense. Now the other half of the problem. How does he actually kill any of these things? The answer lives in the barrier itself. It reflects incoming damage back at the attacker. 1 point per hit. Normally goblins can't dent something 6-star levels above them. The rank app makes it impossible, except Hannul equipped the Hakon Sprune, an A-rank item that completely ignores rank disparity when dealing damage. Suddenly his 1-star goblins can tag 6-star dragons. 1 point at a time, the wyverns are taking damage now. Slow, steady, unavoidable. 1 health point per reflected hit. It barely looks like progress, but one of the wyverns notices something. There's a tiny goblin down there and it's somehow making him look stupid. All that rage, all that power, and the dragon can't land a single meaningful hit. Completely neutralized. The dragon is doing absolutely nothing. Here's the brutal math though. At this pace, clearing the entire horde is going to eat up roughly 60 solid hours. So the real challenge isn't the monsters. It's holding that barrier's recovery process together for 60 backbreaking hours straight. A grim question starts circling his mind. His goblins dropping dead first, or him? Out on the battlefield, the Count's forces crash headfirst into Hannul's, and neither side is budging. Pure stalemate. Offense locked against defense, nobody gaining an inch. Time crawls forward and exhaustion starts creeping into his body whether he likes it or not. The second he reaches for water, just water. His whole body locks up with a violent cold shiver, not even a sip. This man literally cannot interact with anything outside the game. Not a single thing, so let's cut straight to it. Hannul just has to grind through it. No breaks, no relief, nothing. No water, no food. No bathroom breaks, no anything, just him, the screen, and the mission. Every movement tracked, every action accounted for. Most people, they'd already be mentally shattered by now. Despair would have swallowed them whole, but Hannul isn't most people. He looks at this suffering and calls it the opening act. Then one of the dragons just loses it completely. Pure, calamitous rage erupting in a storm of fire. It launches a titanic fire breath directly at the barrier. A massive chunk just gone. The barrier takes a serious hit, and somehow being pushed into a corner like this is exactly what fuels him. The thrill is the whole point. 2 hours down, 58 left. The stakes couldn't be higher. Fail here, and it's not just a game over. The entire world gets erased. Hannul locks in completely. Full control, full commitment, and a vow to push even harder from this point forward. 12 brutal hours tear through him, and he hasn't even crossed the halfway mark, but the damage is stacking on their side too. Sooner or later, that math tips in his favor. Bit by bit, the goblins are grinding the dragons down. 2 wyverns hit the ground. The rest of the army still stands, but the cracks are showing. Good enough. Hannul just needs to keep this trajectory rolling. 3 more monsters go down. His spirit doesn't crack. Not even close. A full day burns past, and he's only cleared 10. Not even 12. 10. Then a pack of wyverns makes a hard push straight at the barrier, and 2 half-drakes die stopping them. The Count can see it now. His numbers are crumbling. More wyverns fall. The half-drakes keep dropping too, and after an absolutely insane grinding run, only 2 monsters remain. By this point, Hannul can barely. He can't even touch the screen anymore. Resetting isn't an option. One of the goblins gears up and launches forward. The Netherlands launches a full assault, but the wyvern tears straight through the attack. A dual strike locked dead on the shield. This hit changes everything. It rips Hannul's soul wide open. Those few seconds he let himself rest, that's exactly when the barrier got obliterated. One more hit on that castle in its current state, it falls. Full collapse. But then Gono steps up and makes the call nobody else would. He charges straight at the dragon. No hesitation. Honestly, Gono might be the most cold-blooded goblin ever drawn in Manhwa history. This guy has main character energy written all over him. Anyway, the clash is about to happen. Goblin versus dragon. Gono's eyes carry this absolute unshakable focus, and he throws everything, every last ounce, into caving that monster's skull in. The force behind that mace is staggering. So staggering it even freezes Hannul mid-breath. The dragon goes down, and so does the Count. Hannul can't even process what just happened. He screams, pure, raw celebration. But before that second even finishes, he's out, collapses on the spot, completely gone. The next time consciousness finds him, the sun is already blazing outside. Dude has zero memory of when he passed out. Just gone. He stares at the system screen, taking in the wave clearance notification. Rewards: 20 wyvern bones, 10 drake scales, 5 drake hearts. The loot from surviving the unthinkable. Though he has absolutely no idea what he's supposed to do with any of it yet, the system then lays out what's left. 3 conditions standing between him and a conversation with the sovereign. First condition, clock 50 hours of total playtime. Second condition, successfully defend what you just did. Hannul doesn't even understand why this conversation feature exists, or why Thloch behind 3 gates. Doesn't matter. 2 down already. He's getting there regardless. Then the final reward drops. The one tied directly to clearing the wave. The screen explodes in brilliant light, flooding the entire room and catching Hannul completely off guard. And for just a moment we get a quick look at his phone. 7 missed calls, all from Sua. His admirer has been trying to reach him 7 whole times, over at the Punbok Guild. Sua's brother is completely refusing to wrap his head around what happened. This supposed E-ranks just killed an ogre. Sua's brother, tall enough to play center in the NBA, is standing there convinced the whole thing is a lie. But Sua pushes back hard, reminding him that rumors of Hannul's reawakening have been spreading. Suyuk isn't buying a single word of it. Reawakenings are rare enough to be basically myths. And then right in the middle of all that debate, the man himself shows up. Hannul, moving fast, heading straight toward them. He already knows they've been waiting and leads with a genuine apology for going dark. Still apologizing. Still being stand-up about it. And somehow Suyuk is still annoyed because the guy made his sister wait 3 whole days. Sua shuts her brother down immediately. Hannul quietly clocks the dynamic between those two and files it away. Sua shifts to business, walking Hannul through the ogre reward details. Full breakdown of the payment settlement included, but Hannul wants to handle things in a specific order. Association report first, everything else after. They move to the staff desk, where the receptionist takes Sua's direct testimony. She personally watched him bring down that ogre. No one else arrived on scene and she knows it, even without physical evidence sitting in front of her. Suyuk fixes the receptionist with a glare that makes clear he is not in the mood for pushback. She folds almost instantly but then pivots, pointing out that a B-rank monster kill still requires formal verification procedure. Rules are rules, apparently. Translation: they're pulling up his stats to verify whether any of this story actually holds up. The tool they're using is a manometer, and that right there is where the problem lives. Sua already believes the reawakening happened, but even she's never been able to check his actual numbers. She's flying blind on this. enough to vouch for him out loud, right there in front of everyone. A different verification method gets floated. But Hannul doesn't flinch. He's confident enough to step up and do the measurement on the spot. The manometer processes the member ahead of him and spits out a clean D-rank result. Then it's Hannul's turn. Sua is visibly tense. Her brother, on the other hand, is almost excited, because this is exactly the moment he wants to see whether this guy has anything worth the constellation's attention. No ability, no credibility. Simple as that in Su Yuk's book. Hannul presses his hand flat against the giant stone. Nothing on him. No buffs, no tricks. Or so everyone else thinks. Last time he stood in front of something like this was 7 years ago, back when his mana got measured alongside every other hunter. His companions wait. The room holds its breath. Su Yuk's eyes sharpen. Something's pulling his attention. Then the manometer finishes its scan. S ranks. The evaluation clears and the display reads S rank, plain as day. The air in the room just dies. Every single person in that space is locked onto that result. Here's the thing though. Even Hannul didn't know he was carrying S rank power until the final mission reward dropped. What he got was a brand new skill. The Lord's Afterimage. It pulls the strongest monster from the previous wave and adds its entire stat block directly onto a zone, but only for 30 minutes, and only once per day. Basically, Hannul gets to wear Count Goulard's power like a suit for half an hour, and he timed it perfectly, buffed to an absurd level right as the measurement was happening. While that skill is running, his stats genuinely match an S rank. Not a simulation. The real thing. Nobody in that room can sense the difference. As far as the world is concerned, an S rank rookie just walked in. Both siblings are completely floored. Even Su Yuk, resistant until this very second, has to acknowledge it. With the measurement locked in, Hannul is officially on record as the hunter who took down the ogre. One of the staff confirms that's all they needed. Process complete. Hannul turns to the siblings and thanks them for helping this go smoothly. He's already moving toward the exit when Su Yuk cuts him off. Coffee. He wants a chat, and he's not just asking as himself. He's extending the invitation as Vice Guild leader of Pungbak. That title lands heavy. Everyone nearby catches it and leans in. Hannul doesn't even hesitate. He turns it down with his effortless, almost annoyingly calm confidence. His reasoning? Su is the only contact he needs from that guild. That's it. And with that, he walks out, leaving Su Yuk standing there with absolutely nowhere to put that reaction. He gets home and his face is already plastered across the news. Then his stream kicks on. The Hunter Association has him listed as B rank officially because their rules don't allow a hunter to skip more than 3 ranks at once, regardless of what the manometer says. His own chat is already roasting the trash game without a clue who they're actually talking to. Hannul just sits there, completely unbothered, playing the role of a clueless viewer. The real conversation in chat? Everyone is going wild over the mystery S rank who just stone cold rejected Su Yuk to his face. Half the comments think he'll cave and join the guild. The other half already heard he walked away. Either way, his name is everywhere, and right in the middle of all that noise. Hannul drops that he's got new content coming. Hunter content specifically. Chat is less than thrilled. The enthusiasm doesn't exactly spike. So he flips the script and asks them directly, what dungeon should he clear? The reaction is immediate shock. Streaming an actual raid? That's not just bold, that's flat out illegal. There's a confidentiality agreement every hunter operates under. You don't broadcast the dungeon interior. Full stop. But Hannul's not planning to stream inside. He'll post the clearance certificate, then narrate the whole story himself. Chat already thinks that's going to be the most entertaining content they've ever seen, and every guild trying to bury dungeon secrets is about to have a serious problem. One viewer tosses out the Mad Dragon's Nest as a suggestion. Then someone else drops 50,001 on the Giant's Kitchen dungeon. Then a third viewer absolutely nukes the donation board with 1,000,001, begging Hannul to go tear the legs off the queen in the spider's forest. The gap between 50,000 and 1,000,000 is staggering enough on its own. But before he can even process that, another notification hits. Hannul tells everyone to calm down and stares at the top of the screen. 10,000,001. Just sitting there. Chat absolutely loses it. Whale alert. Except this isn't just a fan. It's the Sovereign's personal assistant, and this person wants direct access to Hannul through the only channel available. Hannul has no idea where a donation that size is pointing him, so he asks the viewer directly. The response, the deepest part of the Garden of Meditation. The rest of chat immediately starts sounding the alarm. Nobody has ever cleared it. This is a death sentence dressed up as a content request. The Garden of Meditation runs 3 sectors deep. The entrance, the lake, and whatever lies past that. The entrance? Manageable. A legitimate hunting ground. The lake sitting at the center though, that's where the danger shifts into something else entirely. What waits past the lake? Nobody knows. Because nobody has made it there. The one person who came closest was Su Yuk himself. And even he hit his ceiling and turned back. And now that exact mission is sitting in front of Hannul. By his own analysis, it's impossible. The mystery viewer clarifies, clearing the dungeon isn't required. Just reaching the deepest part is enough for the terms to be satisfied. That shifts the difficulty ceiling down a notch. And there's even an offer of added support if he ends up clearing the whole thing anyway. The rest of chat is screaming at him not to do it. This is streamer suicide in the name of content, and everyone in the comments can see it. Hannul isn't pretending the weight isn't there. He feels it, but reaching the deepest part and walking back out alive, that's the actual goal. And the mystery viewer wants the full clear too, and has already offered backup for it. Everything in him knows this is going to be rough, but he yells it out anyway. He's in. Cut to the Hunter Bureau, where Hannul is standing at the front desk, filing a solo expedition request for the Garden of Meditation. The receptionist hears deepest part, and immediately reminds him that going alone makes this one of the most dangerous things a person could attempt. Hannul tells her to just process the application. She books him into an available slot a week out. He pushes back. Solo expedition. There's no team coordination to arrange. Why is a week necessary? She finds him a slot the next day. Hannul accepts without a second thought. 4 o'clock. Be there. He confirms and heads out. But the moment he steps outside, 2 people are already waiting for him. Mingun and Suan. Both want a word. HR team leaders, one from the Aegis Guild, one from the Sanare Guild, both standing there specifically for him. Hannul immediately connects the dots. Word of his evaluation reset got around fast. Both guilds are extending a welcome, enthusiastically. These aren't small names either. Aegis and Sanare are 2 of Korea's top 3 guilds. Whatever terms Pungbok offered, these 2 are ready to blow past them. Hannul doesn't even engage. Zero interest. He walks right past them, mind already fixed on the dungeon ahead. A guild right now would slow everything down. The dungeon is the only thing that matters, and speaking of the dungeon, Soo-yuk's phone buzzes with a fresh report from Hannul directly. He lays it out plainly. He's going for the deepest part. The same stretch of the Garden of Meditation that stops Soo-yuk himself cold, which is exactly why he's calling the S-ranker. He needs whatever information Soo-yuk is holding. Soo-yuk's first instinct is obvious. Why give up anything? Then Hannul drops it. He has a way to actually clear the dungeon. That stops the vice leader in his tracks. Hannul follows up. He'll go on record saying he cleared it with Pungbok's support. Public announcement. Full credit. That's a trade worth considering. Soo-yuk is willing to share the intel, but he's genuinely curious whether Hannul can back up that claim. Hannul confirms it without hesitation. So Soo-yuk pivots. Information in exchange for one thing. Join the guild. Denied. Instantly. And right as Soo-yuk tries to play it like he's the only one making an offer, Hannul cuts that down too. Aegis already called. So did Sanare. Both of them, separately, reaching out. That lands like a punch to the gut for the vice leader, because it means the other 2 top guilds aren't waiting around. They're already moving. Hannul twists the knife a little further, making it clear that Pungbok's offer simply doesn't hold enough weight to matter. Soo-yuk has nothing left to negotiate with. He folds, but he makes one thing crystal clear before this conversation ends. He has zero information on the deepest part, and the dungeon's layout may have completely shifted over the past year. Hannul accepts that and decides to work with whatever scraps he can pull from it. He shows up at the designated location, glasses on, and every man standing there clocks him immediately. Kwang-soo steps forward and introduces himself as a member of the Bulgul Guild. Hannul greets him back, calm and easy. But the bald one already has a full file on him from the evaluation. He's done his homework. The problem is, this guy has never worked alongside an S-rank, and that insecurity is already showing. He takes personal issue with the fact that Hannul filed as a solo applicant. Then he goes ahead and spells it out rudely. His guild has its own objectives, and Hannul should not expect even a shred of help from their side. Hannul doesn't feel threatened by a single word of that. He agrees to the arrangement without blinking. Egghead struts off like S-rank is just a title with no real weight behind it. Even Hannul didn't expect these guys to come in hostile on day 1. The real backstory here. Dungeons at this tier require a minimum party size and a reservation that typically runs a month out. This group waited their full time, and Hannul walked in on day 1. That's the actual source of the tension. None of that changes his next move though. He activates Sage's Eye and quietly scans their ranks. Every single one of them. Nowhere near the level needed to survive the deeper sectors, which raises a different concern entirely. These guys could be here to spy. Either way, Hannul already knows their paths won't cross past the entrance. Baldy turns back around and demands to know why he's smirking. Hannul tells him a funny joke just crossed his mind. These guys are so wound up that they take it as a direct insult and start squaring up like a fight is actually on the table. Then the staff member opens the gate mid-confrontation, crackling green lightning tears through the air as the portal activates. Move fast or the gate collapses. That's the only instruction given. And for Hannul, this is his first time stepping through a real dungeon gate. Ever. He crosses through, immediately scanning everything waiting on the other side. The system screen populates. Basic raid data, dungeon capacity, all the standard briefing details. Then the sovereign servant checks in. A quiet message of support wishing him luck. And with that, the dungeon's landscape shifts, partially restructured, just like that. The rest of the party materializes around him, but Egghead's expression changes the second he looks around. Something's wrong and he knows it. This place looks nothing like the entrance he studied. Nothing. The disorientation hits him like a flashback, while his guild members start raising the alarm. Why is there a lake here? This isn't what the entrance looks like. Some of them have first-hand knowledge of the layout. This doesn't match any of it. For Hannul, everything is new. But even he knows this sector is supposed to be an easy opening. Cross-referencing Su Yuk's description against what's in front of him right now, none of it lines up. Then something clicks in his head. The system screen cuts through the confusion with an official announcement. Welcome to the lakeside. New mission briefing incoming. The hunters are unraveling, desperately looking for answers. The system delivers the mission objective. Protect the pig mallets from their slayers. Hold them alive until nightfall. Succeed, and the lake opens up, granting direct passage to the deepest part. But failure carries a different outcome entirely. Every single challenger dies. No exceptions. No retry. The S-rank hunters in that group are visibly shaken. None of them are mentally prepared for this setup. Kwang Su's men start pushing him to bail out immediately. So they reach for their status windows to withdraw from the mission, and nothing happens. The exit option isn't there. Egghead has been trying to force his way out since the announcement dropped, still stuck. The current pig mallet count reads 130, 2 already dead since the screen first loaded, down to 128, and the mission hasn't officially begun. Kwang Su's composure is cracking, and he turns to the one S rank on site, asking if there's any clue at all that could help them navigate this. Hannul keeps his tone even. He doesn't know what triggered this situation, but he does have information about the lake. That single statement flips a switch in Kwang Su completely. The man is practically begging to hear it. Whatever Hannul knows, his group will back him up. Hannul almost laughs, because these are the exact same people who were getting in his face 30 minutes ago. He lets it sit for a beat, then lays down his condition. He'll share everything he knows. In return, they follow his orders without question until the dungeon is cleared. Simple exchange. Agree, and they get the full picture. That condition is a direct threat to the guild's chain of command. It would hand Hannul authority over their own leader, but the system doesn't care about guild politics. Another mallet drops from the count. Kwang Su does the math. They comply or they die. Egghead agrees, with one addendum. If the plan collapses, Hannul takes full responsibility. Hannul shuts that down. He's already offering them a way out. An accountability clause on top of that isn't a fair exchange. Kwang Su backs off and agrees to listen. Hannul lays out the lake sector in full detail. The main lake dominates the center, with waterways threading through the forest in every direction like a web. Even Kwang Su is thrown off by how precise this information is. Hannul keeps the explanation simple. Scouting skill. That answer alone visibly relaxes the guild leader. Getting lost in here just became a lot less likely. The layout also lines up almost exactly with what Su Yuk described before the dungeon restructured. What they don't know, what Hannul isn't sharing, is that the real source is the sacred map passed to him directly by the mystery viewer, a gift from the castle itself. The heavy lifting is already done for him. The actual plan is straightforward. 8 nesting zones scattered across the wetlands, all of them housing pig mallets. Find them, secure them, pull them into one concentrated location before the slayers reach them first. Speed is everything. The moment they hesitate, the slayers close the gap. The end goal, consolidate every mallet into a single defensible position. That's the core of the strategy, but standing around explaining it any longer is already costing them. The count is moving. Numbers are dropping, and nobody on this team has taken a single step yet. That's enough. Kwang Su's group breaks into a full sprint toward the nesting zones. His last question before splitting: what exactly is the S-ranks doing while they handle this? Hannul answers plainly. He'll manage the pig mallets on his own end. Kwang Su takes that at face value and moves out. Finally, some breathing room. Hannul uses the moment to scout the lake's full layout using the map. There's a hidden mission embedded somewhere in this sector carrying a special reward, and that's what Hannul is actually here for. The hunt starts now. But before anything else, 2 things need confirming during this scout. 1. The hidden mission's exact trigger. 2. The identity of whatever is actively killing the pig mallets. Multiple monster types are operating in this zone, and he needs to know which ones are responsible. He moves carefully, closing in on a group without being detected. What he finds is a pack of lizard men, and these things are built. Thick, heavy, moving with purpose. That's them. The slaughterers. These lizard men are the ones pulling the mallet count down. His mental plan just got a layer more complicated, because even at D rank, a dense pack of lizard men isn't something you charge into carelessly. Hannul reads the situation and makes the call to pull back without engaging. He starts backing off quietly when 2 voices cut through the air, loud, careless, talking trash about him specifically, and they're heading directly toward his position, which means his cover is about to get blown, and the lizard men are still right there. This guy is running his mouth like he owns the whole dungeon. Then his head gets taken clean off mid-sentence. A lizard man explodes out of the brush and drops him without a moment's hesitation. Blood spools from the stump where his head used to be. The other hunter watches a lizard man materialize out of nowhere and murder his partner. And something in him just snaps. He charges the creature without a plan. Pure rage, zero strategy, fists flying. Every hit landing with everything he's got. He can't stop. The fury is controlling him now. He connects the final blow and waits for the damage to register. Nothing. Not a scratch. Not a single point of health gone. Here's why. These lizardmen share a swarm team bonus that activates collectively. That same D-ranks creature they'd been dismissing as a minor threat, pack them together, and it pulls off a 2-stage evolution, jumping straight to B-class. And a B-class monster doesn't negotiate. It tears the hunter's arm off his body and leaves him screaming into the forest floor. The lizardman raises its weapon, killing blow incoming. Then Gono appears out of nowhere and blocks it cold, the most legendary goblin in this dungeon, summoned at exactly the right second. The Bolgul Guild S-Ranker stares at the creature standing between him and death. He just got saved by a goblin slave. Let that land for a second. Hannul steps out from behind and calmly reminds the big guy that he was specifically told to hold his assigned position. The man explains he got turned around, genuinely lost, ended up here by accident. Hannul cuts it short. Pull back, get those wounds treated. The lizardmen are his problem now. Then he turns to Gono. Clear the surrounding monsters, fast. He's already burning time he doesn't have, and that hidden mission is still out there somewhere waiting to be found. Gono doesn't need to be told twice. Raven's Wing Bee activates. He becomes a blur, cutting through the lizardmen so fast that their eyes can't even track the movement. One monster drops, then another. Before the pack even processes what's happening, their numbers are already shrinking. Hannul just stands there, arms crossed, watching this unfold like it's a highlight reel. Outnumbered doesn't mean anything when the numbers can't keep up. Then one lizard man actually fires up a functioning brain cell. If the goblin's too fast to catch, go for the one standing still. It launches directly at Hannul, going for a one-shot kill. Lord's Afterimage activated. Count Goulart's stats flood into his body in an instant. S-rank strength. 30-minute window. He swats the lizard man aside like it weighed nothing. By the time he lowers his arm, Gono has already finished off every remaining lizard man in the clearing. Hannul turns to his goblin and genuinely praises him, though the whole interaction carries this weirdly wholesome energy that even Hannul finds a little suspicious. And as predicted, the goblin blushes. Affinity climbs another 10 points. Then Hannul moves straight to business, collects the mana stones from the bodies, and sells them for clean, easy gold. First time ever selling a lizard man stone, so the Lord's Castle of Illusion throws in a bonus reward on top. Another gotcha pull ticket drops into his inventory. He pockets it immediately. That spin can wait until after the mission wraps. Gono taps his own wrist and glances at Hannul pointedly. Time limit's almost gone. Hannul starts mentally running through options. Is there any way to stretch this timer? Then he notices something. Gono has adopted that signature look. The wide eyes, the barely contained greed, the unmistakable goblin energy radiating off him. Right on cue, the system pops a notification. Extend the summon for 10 extra minutes, just 5 gold. Hannul stares at the screen with visible contempt. This system finds a new way to reach into his wallet every single time. Still, the alternative is worse and he knows it. He pays, obviously. Then a sound pulls his attention. A deep rumbling charge building in the distance. A massive herd of pig mallets comes stampeding straight toward him. Sweat starts forming at his temple as he stares down the incoming wall of squealing easy targets. How exactly is one person supposed to corral this many? Gono steps forward before Hannul can even figure it out. He walks directly into the herd and starts communicating with them. The goblin addresses the pig mallets with full sincerity, laying out Hannul's genuine desire to protect them, speaking with a conviction that honestly rivals most motivational speeches. The pig mallets burst into tears on the spot and rush straight toward Hannul, gratitude pouring off them. Just like that, he's become their shepherd and they are a very emotional flock. Crisis managed. He pushes forward Gono, continuing the area scout. Any lizard man that approaches gets cleared immediately. Then he tries to sell another batch of mana stones, and the system flashes red. Castle funds depleted. No more selling, no more collecting, until the gold reserve recover. Turns out there's a hard cap on how many monsters per species the castle can absorb. He hit the ceiling without realizing it. He genuinely did not expect the castle to run dry. Now that the limit is real and confirmed, hunting more lizardmen is pointless. He cuts that line of activity immediately. He does a quick count of pig mallets personally secured, roughly 60 on his end. The system reflects 70 total saved across all parties. That math is pretty revealing. The entire Bolgul Guild, operating as a team, accounted for 10. Then without warning, something shifts in the herd. The pig mallets start moving erratically, breaking formation. Every single one of them bolts in the same direction at once. They're leading every hunter in the dungeon straight toward the center of the lake. The system announces the slaughterers have stopped hunting. Night has fallen. Mission cleared. The pig mallets are safe and the dungeon acknowledges it. And because the total count hits 70, the hidden objective quietly triggers at the same moment. Over in the Bolgul camp, the breaking point has been officially reached. These people are screaming at the dungeon to release them. They are done. Then everyone assumes the gates are about to open, and a new notification drops. Trial of meditation. Beginning now, a colossal wave of sparkling water surges toward the entire group. Just when every last one of them is out of gas, the pig mallets move first. Every single one of them rushes forward and plants themselves between the hunters and the wave like a living shield. Hannul and Gono both stand there quietly stunned. Neither of them saw that coming. The system explains it plainly. The creatures they protected are now returning the gesture. Hannul stares at the pig mallets he spent the entire mission writing off as easy targets. Apparently, they were never just that. The whole picture clicks into place. Protecting them wasn't just a mission condition, it was the point. He goes quiet for a moment, running the numbers in his head. Would saving more of them mean better protection now? He scans the rest of the group quickly. Most hunters barely secured 1 or 2 pig mallets each. The coverage is thin. Huangsu is barely standing upright. The one pig mallet beside him looks like it's held together by determination alone. The rest of the Bulgul members aren't faring much better. And Hannul actually finds himself genuinely worried about him. He needs a solution fast. Then the system drops another notification, and this one finally reveals what he's been hunting for this entire time. The hidden mission. To complete it, he has to find and suppress the true source driving this trial. The bonus clause: defeat the responsible monster and the trial ends immediately, skipping the full 10-minute duration entirely. Glasses on, no hesitation. Sage's eye activates, and it locks onto exactly where the system is pointing. He focuses in tighter and, there it is. A named monster, Zen Karuk. Highly intelligent, carrying 2 devastating skills, Cataclysmic Wave and Storm. Named monster. The anxiety hits immediately, because named monsters don't follow normal rules. Their abilities are unique, exclusive, and built to be a problem. He forces the nerves down. A hidden mission was never going to hand him something easy. He already knew that. Gono's expression shifts. Eyes lit up, body already leaning forward, ready to charge straight at whatever is hiding behind that wave. Hannul stops him with one word: spectate. The lake is the battlefield, and without water resistance, Gono inside that environment isn't a calculated risk, it's a death sentence. He's sitting this one out. Hannul pulls up his monster summoning interface. He needs a new fighter, and fast. The monster summoning shop is already open. From the Lord's list, he locks in an Ogre Berserker. The deciding factor, natural water resistance. Perfect fit for this fight, but a new problem surfaces immediately. Unlike Gono, this ogre is walking in completely unequipped. Against a named monster like Zen Karuk, bare hands aren't going to cut it. He needs a stat boost, and he needs it now. The premium gacha ticket comes out. Rock bottom success rate. He pulls it anyway, everything riding on this one draw. The ticket activates, and golden light tears through the air. Hannul's eyes snap wide open. S-rank item. The excitement hits him instantly. Then he actually looks at what it is, and the excitement curdles into pure confusion. This doesn't look like a combat item at all. Meanwhile, the current keeps building. The water is getting angrier by the second. He doesn't have the luxury of standing here puzzled. The ogre gets summoned, and the item goes on. The moment it makes contact, the ogre drops straight to the floor. And from somewhere nearby, a desperate scream cuts through the noise. A Bulgul guild member is going under. Hannul moves without thinking. He's already running toward them. His jaw tightens as the reality sets in. The ogre is down, the current is rising, and he might have to carry this entire fight himself. Worse, Lord's afterimage has 12 minutes left on the clock. After that, he's E-ranks again. He pushes that thought aside and focuses on keeping the drowning hunter alive, but the water is fighting back hard. Even with S-rank stats temporarily in his body, the current is winning. His grip on the tree starts slipping. Fingers losing purchase. The moment he lets go, the surge drops. Just like that, the violence in the water pulls back. He looks up, and there's the ogre, standing in the middle of the lake. Completely upright, wearing what can only be described as a Harry Potter cap. The ogre speaks, clear, articulate, almost formal, asking his master if he's taken any harm. Then a full introduction. Humble servant, ready to serve. Behaving nothing like any ogre has any business behaving. Hannul just stares. All he did was put an item on its head. That item, Archmage Gandor's hat. An S-rank artifact engineered to amplify intelligence-based attributes. Theoretically capable of turning even the dumbest creature into a functioning genius. What he never factored in, what literally nobody would think to factor in, is what happens when you push an ogre's intellect past every ceiling at once. He asks the ogre directly. How is it forming sentences? How is any of this happening? The ogre straightens up, flexes with quiet pride, and explains that the hat his master placed upon him has fundamentally rewritten what he is. He is a new kind of ogre. Then, a deep, respectful bow. Head down. Awaiting orders. Hannul holds up a hand. Before any orders, he has a question. The ogre agrees immediately. Can it use magic? The ogre answers yes without missing a beat, and casually mentions it already imbued its log with it. Something clicks. The tension in Hannul's chest loosens just a little. The situation might actually be salvageable. He gives the order, punch straight through the storm. He'll be right behind. The hat-wearing ogre doesn't hesitate. He leans into the current and starts forcing his way through sheer will and brute momentum. Hannul gives him a name on the spot. Odolf. And tells him he's counting on him. The ogre freezes the moment he hears it. Odolf's face goes red. Tears start falling. He's not embarrassed. He's moved, completely overwhelmed. He vows to give everything, his life included, to be worthy of this honor. Odolf charges into the storm. The path starts opening up, and for the first time since this trial started, Hannul actually feels like they're going to make it. Somewhere ahead, Zenkaruk feels it too. And not in a good way. Someone figured out his magic. That doesn't happen. He doesn't know who did it, but he refuses to believe they can break through the barrier. That confidence stays intact for now. Then Odolph hits the barrier and stops dead. He reports the blockage. Hannul tells him to pick one spot and hammer it repeatedly. Don't stop. Odolph begins explaining, using actual mathematical logic, exactly why a multi-layered formula barrier cannot be destroyed by force alone. Hannul cuts him off. Stop thinking. Start hitting. Use strength, not spells. Even if it makes zero logical sense, Odolph accepts the order without argument and starts swinging. Over and over, same spot, like he's got a grudge against that specific patch of barrier. Zenkaruk watches the barrier flicker and tightens his composure. An ogre cannot master both strength and magic simultaneously. It's a physical impossibility. The barrier will hold. He keeps telling himself that while the cracks spread, and then it shatters. Zenkaruk does not move for a full second. An ogre mage. That's the only explanation. And that's supposed to be basically impossible. He stares at the creature in the wizard cap and cannot reconcile what he's seen. An ogre shaman? Is that what this is? Hannul steps forward and calls out to him by name. Zenkaruk says nothing back. Combat is the only language he's choosing right now. His read on the situation. An ogre shaman would have burned through enormous mana breaking that barrier. A depleted enemy is an exploitable enemy. He begins winding up a power. Something that hits with instant kill potential. Hannul calls it immediately. Odolph, interrupt it. Long-range spell right now. Hannul is already picturing a fireball. Big dramatic explosion followed by a charge. Classic ogre mage opener. Instead, Odolph grabs his log and throws it. Just a log, flying through the air. No glow, no magic, no ceremony. Zenkaruk sees it coming and laughs. He already anticipated this. No magic can break his barrier. He was ready for exactly this kind of the log connects. Every shred of confidence he had detonates on impact. He drops, defeated. Just like that. Hannul turns to Odolph and gently points out that the spell looked an awful lot like throwing a log. Odolph bows his head and apologizes sincerely. He hasn't actually learned any proper spells yet. The scene cuts to Pungbok Guild headquarters, where the leadership is being pushed hard to lock down the newly awakened S-rank before Aegis or Sanare gets there first. The guild leader isn't hearing any of it. Why would he chase one S-rank when he already has a full roster of them? He doesn't see the urgency. Back in the dungeon, Zenkaruk is officially down. Odolph collects the mana stone with both hands and carries it over to Hannul like it's precious cargo. Hannul tells him he did well. Odolph insists the credit belongs entirely to his master's guidance. They go back and forth on this for a moment before Hannul moves on and sells the special soulstone to the castle. The castle starts processing the rewards. A special zone development permit comes through, another gotcha ticket, and a modest gold payout. Slightly trimmed due to the castle's ongoing fund shortage. On top of everything, Zenkaruk is now available to deploy during wave defenses. He files the reward details away for later and heads back toward the group. What he finds when he gets there, one person conscious. The blue-haired female hunter from Bulgul. She looks up at him immediately and asks if he managed to save everyone, then thanks him before he can even answer. He asks about the rest of her guild, all alive, treatment already underway. Then Kwang Su appears. Wants a word. He's moving toward Hannul like he's about to throw a punch, and then drops to both knees, head bowed, thanking Hannul on behalf of every single one of them. He apologizes for how he came in swinging with attitude the moment they met. Hannul genuinely cannot believe what he's watching. This guy, this particular guy, actually capable of an apology. It doesn't compute. He reaches down and offers his hand. Get up. Your people still need their leader standing. They shake. Kwang Su's eyes fill. He makes a promise. This debt gets repaid. Someday, somehow, the system confirms it. Trial of meditation cleared. Every hunter gets a choice. Go back or keep moving forward. Anyone unconscious gets sent out automatically. Everyone else decides for themselves. The moment Kwang Su hears that Hannul is staying, he tries everything. Come back. Regroup. Get fully prepared and return. This dungeon has broken people stronger than both of them. It's not worth it right now. Then Hannul pulls up his monsters. Gono. Odolph. Standing there like the most unhinged party composition in dungeon history, Kwang Su goes quiet. Then nods. He gets it now. No more convincing. The argument is over. One by one, they express their gratitude and head out. Hannul turns back toward the path forward. Alone. Except for his monsters, pushing into territory no hunter has ever survived long enough to reach, and the hidden mission is already cleared on top of it. The system flags an additional special reward incoming, separate from the standard dungeon payout. It'll be waiting for him. Cut to Troy Kang, still getting lobbied to recruit the new S-ranker. Vice head Pyong Myung-hoon and his sister are laying out the full case for why their guild needs to move on this now. The guild leader keeps deflecting, going in circles about how stretched they already are. And besides, the guy is still officially B-ranked in the system. Where's the urgency? Then a notification lands on his screen. Red pattern dungeon detected. Elevated dungeon break probability flagged. Location: Garden of Meditation, the same dungeon Hannul walked into alone. The guild leader decides he needs to see this himself. Hours later, he arrives at the site with his subordinates. He wants a full situation report immediately. The dungeon response team explains, red pattern confirmed, dungeon break risk is active, civilians already evacuated. Pungbok's support will be needed if things escalate. Mindgoon cuts through the briefing with one question. What about the hunters still inside? 6 made it out, but 1 hunter is crossed into the deepest part. Then guild leader Ma Dong of Aegis pulls up, followed by the leader of Saenarae Guild, 3 of Korea's top guild leaders, standing outside the same dungeon at the same time. All of them locked on the same piece of information. Someone reached the deepest part. First time in recorded history. And none of them can figure out who on earth would even be capable of that.